10th launch of 2019. We'd like to extend a particularly warm welcome to Spacecom CEO David Pollock and the nearly 200 Spacecom guests who have traveled from across the globe to watch today's launch from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. On today's mission, we will be flying Spacecom's ETR-072, a geostationary communications satellite which will provide internet, phone, and secure communications to customers in the Middle East, Africa, and Europe. We're currently at T-minus 12.5 minutes until liftoff, and currently all systems are go. Let's take a look at that rocket there on the pad. So that's our 70-meter, two-stage liquid-fueled rocket. The bottom two-thirds that you see there is the first stage, which accelerates the vehicle through the Earth's atmosphere to the edge of space with the help of 9 Merlin engines. This will be the third and final flight for this booster, which previously flew on the SHALE-2 mission last November and on Telstar 19V just over a year ago. We will not be recovering the first stage following today's mission. There on the screen you can see quite a bit of white gas floating around, totally normal. That's just the liquid oxygen from inside the vehicle venting and turning into gas as it makes contact with the atmosphere. On top of the first stage is the black carbon fiber interstage, and on top of that is the F9 second stage. And that's what takes the payload to its eventual destination in orbit.
In addition to the RP-1 fuel and the liquid oxygen, Falcon 9 also uses helium to keep the tanks pressurized in flight. This helps fill the empty volume created as we deplete propellant out of the stages. Helium load began before the webcast went live. We're topping off until about the last minute and a half before launch. Now, engine chill will begin at T-minus 7 minutes. You're getting the team ready in a minute to open up the pre-valves between the first stage propellant tanks and the 9 Merlin engines. This will allow a little bit of cold liquid oxygen to flow into the turbo pumps, bringing them down to a temperature close to that of the super chilled propellant that will soon be flowing through the engines at liftoff. So the Falcon 9's looking good. On the satellite side, the Spacecom team transferred ETR-072 to internal power starting at T-minus 30 minutes. They completed that at T-minus 15 minutes. They're ready for launch. They're just monitoring telemetry on the spacecraft. The range tells us that they are green, air and sea space are cleared. And the big one is the weather. We had to delay half an hour this evening for launch. Currently, the weather rules are all green, but we're watching everything as we go through the last 7 minutes of the countdown. So right now, all systems continue to be go for liftoff at 23 minutes after the hour.
As we mentioned earlier, tonight's mission is for Spacecom, a satellite operator headquartered in Israel. Today we're launching ETR-072. AMOS stands for African Mediterranean Orbital Satellite, and the 17 is for 17 degrees east longitude location of the satellite. Built by Boeing, it'll be the most advanced high-throughput satellite providing communication services to Africa and have a life expectancy of over 20 years. Let's get some more details on our customer payload tonight.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff.
Gas closeouts.
LDCE, this is RC on countdown. Be advised, we're continuing with the count. The ranges go at this time.
F9 is on startup. Stage 2, pressing for flight.
LD is go for launch.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Stage 1, pressing for flight.
T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition, liftoff.
Vehicle is pitching downrange. AVI power and telemetry nominal. Vehicle is supersonic.
Coming up on 1 minute into flight, we're getting ready for maximum dynamic pressure.
Vehicle has reached maximum aerodynamic pressure.
You've heard the call out. We're through the region of maximum aerodynamic pressure. Vehicle going supersonic as we leave the denser parts of the lower Earth's atmosphere. Falcon 9 trajectory looks good. All 9 Merlin engines are at power. Everything looking good for Falcon 9. We're heading due east from Cape Canaveral, headed to the first of 2 orbits planned for today. Nice view from the onboard camera, looking back at the plume slowly expanding. As we leave the atmosphere, the plume will get larger as we get out to the vacuum of space. Now today, first stage shutdown is planned for about T plus 2 minutes, 45 seconds. We won't be recovering the first stage today, so that leaves more propellant to burn to achieve the required orbit for the satellite. If you compare that to last week's CRS-18 resupply flight to the space station, on that mission, the first stage shut down almost half a minute sooner than today. We needed to reserve enough propellant to be able to turn the first stage and return it all the way back to the launch site. Now coming up quickly in 20 seconds, a sequence of events: main engine cutoff, the 9 main engines shut down, stage separation, and then ignition of the second stage engine coming up in just under 15 seconds.
Go.
AVI stage separation confirmed.
We've had successful ignition of the second stage engine. The Merlin Vacuum D engine is up at power. Turbine speed
Stage 1
looks
FTS
good.
is saved.
You can see the nozzle beginning to glow red, a tradition
Stage
for
2
the
on
upper
nominal
stage.
trajectory.
First stage has completed its mission. It's falling back to Earth. As we said, we won't recover it. Coming up next, fairing separation out in the vacuum of space.
AVI fairing separation confirmed. Acquisition of signal Bermuda.
Nice view in the late afternoon. Sun shining on the payload fairing. The second stage has separated the payload fairing around the Amos-17 spacecraft as we're now in the vacuum of space. Right now, Merlin vacuum engine continues to be on power. Trajectory looks good. Stage 2 is right in the middle of the predicted path. Avionics reports their systems are nominal. So coming up 4 minutes and 15 seconds mark, we are go on Falcon 9 carrying Amos-17 to the parking orbit, the first of 2 orbits for today.
So just past the T plus 5 minute mark into today's mission for AMOS 17. In case if you've just joined us, we had a slight delay due to weather over at Florida launch site, but we did take off at 23 minutes after the hour. And as you can see on your screen, the stages have separated, and there we have a beautiful shot of planet Earth as the second stage nozzle is glowing gorgeous red, orange, as it's carrying AMOS 17 to geostationary transfer orbit.
Stage 2 on nominal trajectory.
We have confirmation that the trajectory for stage 2 is nominal. Just after the second stage ignited, you may have noticed a couple of pieces coming off from the nozzle. If you've tuned into our launches before, you see that every time. Those are that's basically just a stiffening ring that we place at the end of the nozzle to give it a little bit of structural integrity for transportation purposes while the rocket is still on the ground. Not really necessary once the rocket has taken off and they fall away.